Dr. Penfield. Penfield's homunculus provided Hebb with a map to behavior inside the functions of the brain. By the time he published his seminal 1949 work, The Organization of Behavior, he'd spent more than a decade and a half studying learning. Learning in the neurological sense of actions in the brain, and learning in the sense of conditioned behavior.
The brain, a pulpy mass of cells and fibers.
Bonding, imprinting, and early experiences had a huge influence in the development of personality and could be used to predict future behavior as well.
We have to learn through our own past behavior the significance of the impressions our sense organs bring to us.
And if it were true in primates and other higher animals, it may also be true in humans.
Donald Hebb was placed at the head of McGill's psychology department. The work at McGill provided a new blueprint for conquerors of the mind to follow, and the military and national security agencies wasted no time in seizing upon its dark potential. In June 1951, a clandestine meeting on MKUltra precursor projects Bluebird and Artichoke was convened at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Montreal to coordinate what else? Mind control research. Professor Donald Hebb, who had been secretly placed at the head of behavioral research for Canada's Defense Research Board, was a key participant, along with two Americans identified in meeting notes simply as CIA. Dr. Hebb provided an approach to the military application of confessions, interrogations, and the use of psychological coercion to change one's beliefs and values that was based around sensory deprivation, the simplest path to intervention in an individual mind. Hebb proposed that, quote, cutting off all sensory stimulation, the individual could be led into a situation whereby ideas, etc. might be implanted, that a mind plucked from reality through shutting off the senses could be easily softened, remolded, or even shattered.
The psychological aspects of behavior control would include not only conditioning by repetition and training, but such things as hypnosis, deprivation, isolation, manipulation of guilt feelings, subtle or overt threats, social pressure, and so on.
Tests are being conducted in Canada.
He quickly received ample funding from the Canadian government, a CIA front group, and foundations like the Rockefeller and Ford Foundations to test out his sensory deprivation theories on graduate student volunteers at McGill.
Looks to me like he's been in an accident.
No, this is an experiment that took place at McGill University. Students volunteered to participate in this study of human behavior under extreme and prolonged monotony.
They were isolated and immobilized in a small lit cubicle, their arms placed in large cardboard tubes up to the fingertips, with light diffusing goggles placed over their eyes. The little rooms were soundproof except for a constant white noise generated by a small air conditioner. These conditions continued 24 hours a day, even at mealtimes. It didn't take long for the subjects in Hebb's black box to break down. With Hebb writing of one man, the subject's very identity had begun to disintegrate. The extreme sensory deprivation of Hebb's experiment proved blatantly devastating. Few of the volunteers could take it for more than 2 or 3 days.
It was impossible for most of these students to take it for more than 24 or 48 hours.
At least 4 participants in Hebb's experiment openly referred to it as torture. The monotony from a lack of sensory stimulation amounted to much more than mere boredom. It unveiled a mind that lost complete touch with reality when it fell out of contact with it.
The psychologist D.O. Hebb and his associates who conducted these experiments found that deprived of ordinary, everyday sensory experiences, the subjects began to lose touch with reality.
Dr. Hebb discovered a clear threshold at which a man's mind, any mind, would break down within a matter of days. Many participants hallucinated within just 48 hours.
Those who stuck it out began to see things, hear things.
Some felt their heads had become disconnected from their body. Others felt they had 2 bodies. One claimed he saw purposeful squirrels marching with sacks over their shoulders. while another claimed he'd been attacked by pellets fired from a miniature rocket ship. Hebb and his researchers concluded a changing sensory environment seems essential for human beings, noting that without it, a major breakdown in thought processes akin to a psychotic break could be quickly achieved in just a few simple, inexpensive steps.
They had also discovered that a total lack of sensory stimuli made a person highly suggestible, with long-lasting effects. Not only were Hebb and his team able to make their subjects believe in ghosts, poltergeists, and outlandish stories after spending time in sensory deprivation isolation, but even weeks later, many of them retained their fear of the paranormal, often in spite of their previous beliefs. The implications for brainwashing, indoctrination, and re-education were staggering. Although the Canadian government and intelligence agencies had classified Hebb's work, it leaked out through stories from the volunteers, raising questions in Congress in the mid-50s. National Institutes of Health Director Robert Felix testified at a hearing that if you deprive someone of their senses for long enough, they will become totally disoriented in time and space and in their entire thought process. Without external stimuli, one is left in a closed circuit. Thoughts will go round and round and round in an endless loop. When the information is fed back in, and it's the only information available, what else could be the result? But that even nonsense would be a logical conclusion. When isolation is used as a weapon, Dr. Felix made clear, anyone could be broken down by this technique.